buzzsaw versus joristaglio. All right, so casual opening. Pretty good. AI Joseki, okay.
They both study a lot, so.
Yeah, this is the points lover Joseki that Insung from the Yongsang Dojang originated.
Yeah, so in this case, you'll notice that white has a wall here, right? This is the normal move, right? But I think you'd be better off playing something like this.
Oh, nice.
Just because when you play here, white does get the ability to play this in Sente later.
Yeah.
For example, if you play something soft, they can get this enough. And if you connect normally, then you're losing out. So you're gonna have to go for the kill on the stone. But white's probably gonna go for the cut here. And the outside is gonna become big for white.
Right.
This is something later in the game that could happen. It's not gonna happen immediately. But if white has some sort of center, white's gonna go for it. Which means we'd have to defend against, oh, okay. Your opponent plays the high stone immediately. If you're gonna go for something high here, maybe just a shoulder hit. At least this way, you know, if our opponent tries to wedge and connects, we can still go for the outside. You know, we can attach or play here in the corner. But here you're leaving Sente for your opponent. Oops. Playing on a trackpad, so you're gonna see some misclicks.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and say this move probably isn't the biggest on the board, just because your opponent has a weakness here at a S7 and R7.
Right.
And you can attach here to create weakness in your opponent's shape. And you can gain the bottom because you already have stones on the left side. So even if your opponent tries to take advantage of, you know, getting a nice wall, you can just come out in 2 space, or you can nice move, reduce both sides. So taking the territory would be nice. If your opponent decides, I'm going to make a base, then this is just good for you in general. Because now they have small territory and you've gained a lot. So your opponent responded to this move, but the reason why I have a problem with this one is your opponent doesn't have to answer. For example, they can play here. They can shoulder hit to increase the bottom, but I think here, they're probably just gonna play this. This is something I'd like to see white do, just because when an opponent plays here, now we can just focus on the center, either by playing here or here. Another thing white can do is just reduce in general. So if you try to protect, white's gonna gain this wall. And this helps protect against this because now I can play here. And if you try to connect out, I give up the 1 stone and now I have a base. The group is permanently alive.
Yeah.
But your opponent responded. This isn't something you need to answer. You can just take this.
Okay.
Because when your opponent plays here, in order for them to do anything, they need to play this move. And you can take the 1 stone by playing this at 5. They'll play the Atari, you can connect. They either connect solidly or they play a tiger's mouth, and now you're just alive. So this way that this move is not as Sente as it should be.
Okay.
So you get the free move, but they do get to enclose you, but you're already enclosed. So worst case scenario, you lose a few points compared to getting the momentum on the board. Okay, so they got the move here. All right, so you got that move. That's good. I don't see a problem with that. Maybe push once
Okay.
and then play
Oh,
here.
that's nice.
Because now if they give up the 1 stone, they can get a solid outside, but you already have, as I said earlier, you have the ability to come out. You can also reduce simply or loosely. But later in the game, you're going to be able to play this clamp if they defend the bottom. If they do something, for example, say like this, they're going for the outside, but they're losing the territory here.
Right.
And you also have the ability to just come out in the center. So you're very flexible and you have all the territory. So white needs to be creative if they're going to go for the center. Let me see, they poked. Do we need to answer this move?
Probably not.
Why?
Well, if he does push, I answer. And I don't think there's going to be bad consequences as a result. Yeah,
So you get strengthened and you get the first move on the board.
right.
For example, if you play here, then now he needs to answer some way. Maybe he goes for a cut. But this is a fight that you can take.
Right.
Because now when he runs with these stones here, you're going to be able to push them into your stones.
Yes.
And if they play this way, you can still just push them. This is a great way for you to take advantage of these slow moves by your opponent. If they play something like this, there's weaknesses that white has to be aware of. And if they do a crude cut with 6 and 8, then these stones, you're going to get the first move in the defensive or the attack. So in this case, white still needs a move in the center, but at this point, we can attack these stones. And you'll notice that you're a lot thicker than the 2 stones.
Mm-hmm.
So the fight is very, very profitable for you. But we answered everything our opponent did.
That is my way.
That's one way to play, but not all of us are not Cho Chi-kun, Lee Chang-ho. So sometimes we just need to pick our battles. And in this case, I still think a trick that you should know is when your opponent plays 2, you can attach.
Oh,
So if they take the 1 stone, then that's good for them. They can have it. We're
right.
live in the corner. If our opponent
Sure.
tries to take the stone, when they do, we're still alive because when we play here, they have to connect underneath. And you do have, something like this, or here if you're desperate to live.
Right.
So you're undercutting them even though they took your corner points. Not to mention, you also have the outside that you're reducing. But when we answer, we're giving our opponent the first move. And you'll notice that white's slowly growing the center here.
That's right.
I hope you didn't attach. Okay. Yeah, so attaching here probably isn't ideal. It's the same idea. We're letting our opponent grow. Even though we've solidified the top right a bit, we're giving our opponent extra moves. And it's the same thing with something like this.
Which
our
is what
opponent
I
can
played.
generally playing in this area is probably not a good idea just because our opponent can continue to attach. And in this case, this fight's okay for white. because now you're the one that's going to be surrounded in the center.
Right.
Even if you play here, white's going to go for the attack. So instead of defending this area that's only going to give you maybe an extra four or 5 points, we can start thinking about reducing in the center with our moves here.
Right.
And you also have this lovely attach here. Since you defended the corner, you don't have to worry about being cut off. Plus, you have the ladder, so this is good for you.
Mhm.
And if your opponent just connects, then you can leave the stones for later. Play lightly, because your opponent answered, and you've already reduced it. Because now, when you say you come out, they're going to need to add a move, and this still doesn't protect the full territory. So they play something like this. You can play the Ataris. If they clamp, when you connect, they have to connect underneath. If they play the Atari on top, you can make a co-shape. Of course, this is something, if you make the co-shape, you should play it later, just because you want to be able to you want to make sure that you're able to connect underneath. Otherwise, if you just play it immediately, your opponent can just do this. So you can force the co-shape. You can give up 3. So if they just take it, then you've already reduced the bottom side, because they had to add how many moves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 moves to capture 2 stones, and they still only have second line territory. But
Right.
you got 4 moves on the outside that's able to help you reduce.
Nice.
Yeah. So knowing that you have an attachment here and the ability to come out and reduce, either you can probably attach here or come underneath. That's also an idea. You can poke here. These are all moves. The other thing you can do is, if you want to reduce the amount of territory your opponent has, is you can just play the armpit hit.
That's what I ended up doing later.
That's perfect. If they give up the 1 stone like this, you can take, they have to connect, and then you can play here. If they try to go for attacking these stones, when you come out, they're going to be, their bottom left corner is going to be surrounded in a sense. So they probably have to defend. And if they defend, they're going to lose points in the center. If they defend with in the center, for example, just something simple, you're going to be connected, but their points in the corner are going to be reduced. So if they just play something like this, they still need to come down here. Whoops, don't play 19. Play this one, and you'll notice that they're struggling to make eyes.
Right.
So it's a nice way to reduce your opponent without having any worry about being attacked. So for example, if they play something simple, you can still just play here. And then when you fix your shape, they have 2 cuts that they have to worry about. As for white, I think just playing here is better. Because there's a proverb that you shouldn't defend a moyo that has more than two ways in. And the best way to close 2 directions is to either attach or attack something. And if you just play a move here, your opponent's going to ignore. I don't know, what did he play? I played the peep. I can still just ignore. Something like a jump.
Yeah.
And if you play here, like, sure, we're going to give our opponent a wall, but we can also just reduce here. So for example, still have cuts to worry about. So if they defend the cut, then we can come back. And it looks like white's getting a lot here, but ideally, our opponent's going to get this move, and it's going to increase the territory that Terry can get up here. I'm assuming you answered.
I did, yeah,
So one way to think about it is because if your opponent tries to push, we always have the tiger's mouth with 3.
right.
So you can push and then hunt it.
Nice.
And if they try this, we can
That's
capture the
great.
1 stone. They can't play the other Atari because this just, it's tragedy for white. And if white gives it up like this, then you've successfully reduced the area. If the opponent defends the outside, you can get the corner. And if they defend here, you can destroy the potential. So I wouldn't worry about connecting. If you are going to respond, maybe know that you have good shape and that you can attack your opponent's shape, because we're already peeping a 1 space jump, right?
Right.
And they tried to peep us, but we have the first move, so we can attack white. As for joristaglio, if you're looking to build the center, 1 is probably the best move on the left side, but the best move here is definitely attach. Right, so let's see how the game progressed. I'd still attach in the corner. I'd still attach here. That's probably going to be a big thing for me. Okay, so we got a good move here. I would do this because now our opponent needs to save the stone, right?
Right.
And when they come down to save the stone, we can play here. They probably need to save the stone, and then you can play the Atari. Or if you're able to, we can attack these stones. You know, something like this.
Nice.
And the goal isn't to kill these 2 stones. For example, if they play something like this, we can play here and then connect. So they'll kill the 4 stones, but you'll notice that you're a lot thicker. And most importantly, you can come back and connect.
Right.
Right. So even if your opponent kills these 4 stones, you're not giving you're not giving your opponent any extra territory that they already had. What they're doing is they're reducing their own potential. So you'll be able to come down here and reduce more, especially with this cut here. Even if you get this, even if black or white just gives you this cut, just having the weaknesses that white does with this double cut here means that anything in this area white has to respond to. So just being thick on the outside already hurts white's potential in the center. Oh boy. Now think about the variation I just showed you. Not that one. This one.
Yeah.
Compared to how the game went. So you got cut in the center, and now the center is very, very large, right?
Right. Right.
Although I'm not sure if it's enough. I'd have to count because you do have 2 large corners here and a large side. So you basically have half a quadrant, but white only has the center. There's no side territory here. So let's do a quick count. So is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
7?
And after I get J3, it's even less.
7. So you have about 50 points in the top right.
Right.
I'm assuming this is 14 plus 14 plus 14, 28. So you have, you basically have 80 points right now, depending on what happens in the top right. If your opponent has 90 points in the center, then you're still winning just because, I mean, you can just reduce. But there's nothing wrong with your move here. I would just prefer you to play a little bit stronger rather than, just going for the side territory.
Right.
Here, you're probably better off just playing this move. Your opponent's going to get sente anyways. But at least here, you can attack your opponent. You can come out. You can just take J3 immediately. Or you can play the move that you did in game. But your opponent answered. The reason I have an issue with this is because, later this may become a hard move to answer, or
Yeah. Later on, I did capture that stone when it started to look a little iffy.
gotcha. Okay. And so you answered. We can go for a little bit more here.
Yeah.
Just play the Hane once and then extend. So now it's your opponent's responsibility to play. So if they play here, then we can come back down. And if they just go for something simple, oops, push, and then connect. If we try to play this move, then when our opponent plays here, we may have some issues. The Hane at 3, you'll see this shape a lot in games. In particular, the 3 liberties on these stones, and then the 2 Hane. On either side, white can Hane and then give up the stone, the Hane stone, to capture the 3 stones. So for example, if you try to just take these stones, the 1 stone, white can go for this.
Right.
So when you notice you have the Hane at the head of 3 stones, try to make it 4.
Right.
That way it's harder for the opponent to play such a thing. So I went a little too far ahead, but okay. Nice. Bit of endgame. Oh, you got a large endgame. So now we're just in endgame here. And okay, so yep. Okay.
He tried a lot of stuff in here, and I ended up capturing some of his stones in a net in the L16 area. But later I lost focus. I got ahead and I lost focus and I missed a crucial move. So I did lose the game. It reversed it.
Gotcha. Okay. So here's a crucial thing. So this H15 move, it looks really big, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is your opponent doesn't have a perfect wall here. And it looks like this has been here for quite a while. So
Right.
we really want to play a move at A or B right now. You may want to play just for the sake of order of moves, because when you play A, the opponent's going to play here, connect, come out, and attach. And they're a little bit stronger in the center. So if we play B first, we can play this in sente. And when they connect, we can capture the 2 stones. If they play the Atari, then we come back, because we got the B2 is already the profit here. So if we come back and we play 9 and they still play this way, then you can come back and capture the 2 stones and you've gained a lot. You've reduced the center significantly. So white lost the corner, and then now white only has the center for points. I don't know how. I'm just gonna leave it there. There's a pop-up screen came up. I don't know how that was there.
We did not see it, so it's good.
Okay.
I think we
Alright,
should
it's in my
wrap
way.
up since we are at the time.
So let's see let me go over what happened to Bonnie's game here. Oh. Okay. So here, did you play a net? Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like this works immediately. So the net works, which is fine. Okay. You defended that success. Oh,
You see, I lost focus. The two stones at the top, they got nice and juicy and tasty, and I lost focus and
okay.
lost the game. Simple as that.
Okay, yeah. So there's a general few things. Besides the end game mistake here, I mean, it happens. Even I lose focus and I kill myself in a group against a stronger player. But things. So answering your opponent will work at a, I want to say SDK level, but we need to know when we have strong shape or strong enough shape to take focus or not take focus, take the initiative on the board. That's super important in order to get more ahead.
Well, thank you very much for the review. I appreciate it. And I know we've run into overtime.